Good evening, everyone. Great to have you all here tonight. I'm Barbara Snyder, president of Case Western Reserve University, and it is my honor to welcome you to the 2014 Inamori Ethics Prize ceremony. This award and the Inamori International Center for Ethics and Excellence are made possible through the visionary philanthropy of Dr. Kazuo Inamori and the foundation that bears his name. In recognizing extraordinary individuals whose lives and works exemplify the principles of ethical leadership, we do more than honor a single individual. We pay homage to every person in the world, the prominent and the unsung, who strive daily to improve the lives of others. Our prize recipients to date have advanced society in remarkable ways and in different ways. Among them, the provision of desperately needed health care and the insertion of principled legal advocacy in a setting where justice is rare. While their methods of influence vary widely, the honorees share common qualities, among them courage, integrity, passion, and wisdom. In a world where we so often see fear and accommodation, violence and destruction, these character traits are more important than ever. We at Case Western Reserve feel privileged to host a program and a place devoted to the ideals of honor and moral action. Today marks our 7th annual prize ceremony, and we are so pleased that you have joined us for this most meaningful event. Our title sponsor this evening is the Callahan Foundation, represented today by Tim and Nancy Callahan. We so appreciate your support and your long-standing engagement with our university. Tim and Nancy and the Callahan family, thank you. You will see in your program that tonight's event has several other sponsors as well. We are grateful to each of them for recognizing the significance of this event and for helping us make it ever better. Thank you. Finally, I want to recognize members of our Board of Trustees who are here with us tonight. Several of these university leaders have played a preeminent role in helping us realize the promise of the Inamori Center and this prize. They have also helped us deepen our engagement with the Inamori Foundation, and we are grateful to all of our trustees for their leadership. Thank you. We are fortunate to have representatives of the Inamori Foundation with us tonight, and it is wonderful to be able to welcome all of them again. And I will point out especially Mr. Kenichi Hara. Thank you. If you have joined us for this event in previous years, you probably noticed that we are not holding this ceremony at Severance Hall this year. We have moved the Inamori Ethics Prize event, and in fact, the Inamori International Center for Ethics and Excellence, to the Tinkham Veale University Center, our brand new venue. The namesake for this building, Tinkham Veale, envisioned a place at our university where people from all disciplines would come together. That vision grew to include the focus on ethical leadership inspired by the work of Dr. Inamori. We could not be more grateful to the Inamori Foundation for their support. And Mr. Hara, I know you will take that message back to Kyoto and to Dr. Inamori. Now it is my great pleasure to introduce the director of the Inamori International Center for Ethics and Excellence, Professor Shannon French.
Thank you, President Snyder. Deciding to lead an ethical life, or to be an ethical person, or to be an ethical leader, means choosing to give a damn. And there are risks that come with that. When you care deeply about something, whether it's women's rights, or the environment, or access to health care, or human security, or economic justice, you can be hurt. It can be agony to see the same awful problems persist year after year, despite your efforts, and to feel that every hard-won step of progress still leaves so many more steps untaken. The apathy or even intentionally obstructive actions of others can take their toll on your spirit. It might feel safer and smarter to isolate your heart and not think too long or too deeply about the problems of the world or the suffering of others. It's certainly true that no matter how much any one of us struggles to solve the core challenges we humans face, there will still continue to be suffering and injustice in the world. But here's the thing. That doesn't make the effort futile. If you care enough to help just one person, or if you're determined enough to persevere despite setbacks and maybe change laws or change attitudes or practices on just one ethical issue, something you care about, you're making the world better. That matters. I used to get boiling mad whenever I heard a particular song on the radio by John Mayer. It was supposed to be about the youth of today, and it was called Waiting on the World to Change. Well, I'm sorry, John, but that attitude is wrong. Don't wait. You can't wait. We can't afford to wait, not one of us. Change the world today. Change your world today. If you convince one person that no means no, you just changed the world. If you show one little boy that there's someone in his life who won't bully or dismiss him for being different, you just changed the world. If you teach one teenage girl that being deserving of love doesn't depend on your dress size, you just changed the world. If you persuade one organization to treat people like people, not replaceable parts, you just changed the world. That is what ethical leadership is. That's what we're celebrating here today, and it's accessible to every one of us. The mission of the Inamori International Center for Ethics and Excellence, established through the vision and generosity of Dr. Kazuo Inamori, is to encourage individuals in every field of human endeavor to change the world in ways little and tremendous. To fulfill our mission, we teach and train, we develop programs, events, and outreach initiatives, we fund experiential and traditional research projects and service learning, and we support scholarship and research activities that are designed to promote interdisciplinary work around the world. In this effort, we are privileged to collaborate with many passionate change agents on our campus, in our community, across the country, and around the world. We recently welcomed into the Inamori Center Professor Anthony Jack as our new research director. Professor Jack is a neuroscientist who studies moral decision-making and empathy in the human brain. His groundbreaking work shows how the human brain has evolved to create a tension between empathy and analytic thinking, so that these two types of thinking are constantly in tension. And when we are faced with an ethical dilemma, the decision we make is largely dependent on which neural circuit wins. We have been using insights from this research to create a new type of scientifically informed ethics right here at Case Western Reserve, and have been applying this approach to practical issues in ethical leadership. Together with our existing partnerships with the Beamer-Snyder Chair in Ethics, the Social Justice Institute, the Cox Center for International Law, the Women's Center, and other groups on campus, as well as relocating the campus headquarters of CETMONS, our research consortium, and the continued publication of our journal, the Journal of International Ethical Leadership, which is now in its third year. This work will strengthen and expand the research side of the Inamori Center and the Interdisciplinary Campus-Wide Ethics Alliance to combine groundbreaking work in philosophical ethics with insights from other fields, such as psychology, neuroscience, history, and law. Most importantly, the wonderfully engaged students at Case Western Reserve will now have even more opportunities to be involved in exploring ethical research through cutting-edge research. We at the Inamori Center are especially grateful for the chance to work with those students, from our students here to K through 12, and everyone that we are able to touch through our work. We are all striving to become global ethical leaders, We're so proud of the members of our student group, GELS, the Global Ethical Leaders Society, for their commitment to embodying the principles of ethical leadership. They are all learning Dr. Inamori's philosophy of selfless service and respect for all humankind, and are helping to spread it across our campus and to the far reaches of the globe. As you heard, this year marks the 7th presentation of the Inamori Ethics Prize. Our aim every year is to put before you an example of outstanding ethical leadership, an authentic ethical leader who has made a lasting, positive impact on our world. Our 2014 recipient, Dr. Denis Mukwege, more than lives up to that standard. We are truly honored to be able to bring these inspirational individuals here to share their insights and experience with us and show us how to change the world. Now, please join me in welcoming Provost and Executive Vice President Bud Baselek to tell us more about this year's outstanding Inamori Ethics Prize honoree.
Thank you, Shannon. In 2012, people around the world reacted with horror when they learned of the brutal and ultimately fatal gang rape of a woman on a public bus in South Delhi, India. And last year, international moral outrage was directed towards Ariel Castro, who sexually abused 3 women for years and held them prisoner in his home right here in Cleveland, Ohio. Tragically, sexual violence is a problem that is not confined to any one nation. It touches every community. It affects people of all ages, genders, backgrounds, and status. It's not a them issue, it's an us issue. And if there is a solution to it, it must lie with each of us. Our 2014 Inamori Ethics Prize honoree, Dr. Denis Mukwege, refused to be daunted by the scope of the problem of confronting sexual violence. As a physician and healer, he understood that sexual violence, like a virulent disease, has many contributing factors and cannot be eradicated merely by treating its most obvious symptoms. The victims of sexual violence who come to Dr. Mukwege's hospital in the Democratic Republic of Congo receive advanced medical care, including techniques developed and perfected by the doctor himself. But their care does not end with the repair and reconstruction of their bodies. They also receive psychological care, economic guidance, and other forms of practical support. Beyond this, Dr. Mukwege and his colleagues reach out into the communities of the people directly affected by the sexual violence and work with everyone there to build the kind of social infrastructure that can not only help the victims rebuild their lives and not be defined solely as victims of sexual violence, but also reduce the likelihood of future attacks. It's a holistic approach aimed at replacing rape culture with a culture of human rights and respect for all people. Dr. Mukwege was born the son of a Pentecostal minister in what is now known as the Democratic Republic of Congo, or the DRC. He received his medical training in Burundi and had his first medical post at the Christian hospital in South Kivu. While practicing there, he was stunned by the inadequate medical care women received during labor and childbirth, which caused many to suffer complications. This experience became a catalyst for his desire to specialize in obstetrics and gynecology. He completed additional studies in France and returned to South Kivu in 1989. During the civil war that followed in 1996, the hospital where he worked was completely destroyed. With the help of the international organizations, Dr. Mukwege then founded Panzi Hospital, located in Bukavu, Congo, still in the war-torn South Kivu region of the DRC, where he became manager and chief surgeon of the hospital. Panzi Hospital now has 450 beds, of which 250 are reserved for victims of sexual violence. Patients who cannot afford the care are treated free of charge. In addition to medical support, the hospital also provides patients with psychological counseling and legal advice. In addition to the hospital, Dr. Mukwege also founded the Panzi Foundation, which works with victims of sexual abuse, providing legal assistance, counseling, and training on many topics, including women's rights and women's health. Dr. Mukwege's commitment to work against sexual violence as a weapon of war in his own country and around the world has been extraordinary. His hospital has become a beacon of hope for thousands of women within the national and international communities. He has persisted in his mission, despite attacks on his own life. As a result, he and his colleagues have treated more than 40,000 rape survivors. Dr. Mukwege also travels and speaks internationally to raise awareness and funding for the struggle against sexual violence. The leadership and faculty at Case Western Reserve University understand that one of our core roles as educators is to graduate individuals who are engaged with the wider world and are responsible global citizens. We recognize that there are many challenges, such as the ending of sexual violence, that require sustained international and interdisciplinary efforts. We hope that our students will be part of crafting real and lasting solutions to the pressing problems that plague humanity and will demonstrate their commitment to ethical leadership on our campus and around the globe. It is with the intention of inspiring them and all of us that we are taking this opportunity to share Dr. Mukwege's story with you this evening. We are proud to honor him with the 2014 Inamori Ethics Prize for his outstanding ethical leadership in the fields of medicine and human rights. Dr. Denis Mukwege, throughout your career, you have consistently demonstrated the importance of ethical leadership through your dedication to healing. Healing not only the individual victims of sexual violence, but also the communities around them that have also suffered from the impact of these terrible crimes. We applaud your courage and your commitment. Your work perfectly reflects the spirit and mission of the Inamori International Center for Ethics and Excellence. We hope that by bestowing this recognition on you, we can in some way assist your efforts. On the recommendation of the Inamori Ethics Prize Selection Committee, it is my pleasure to present to you the 2014 Inamori Ethics Prize Medal.
Distingués invités, Mesdames et Messieurs,
distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen,
au nom des femmes victimes de violences sexuelles dans l'Est de la République démocratique du Congo, je voudrais vous exprimer ma profonde gratitude pour ce 2014 Inamori Ethics Prize.
on behalf of the women victims of sexual violence in Eastern Congo, I would like to express my deep gratitude for this 2014 Inamori Ethics Prize.
L'un des principes éthiques chers au docteur Inamori est « fais ce qui est humainement bien ».
One of Dr. Inamori's ethical principles is to do what is humanly good.
Au travers de ces prix que vous décernez à la cause des femmes victimes de violences sexuelles, vous avez fait ce qui est humainement bien.
You have done what is humanly good by awarding this prize to the cause of the victims of sexual violence in the Congo.
Ce qui est humainement bien n'est pas tant les honneurs et encore moins l'aide financière reçue par les victimes à cette occasion. Ce qui est humainement bien, c'est votre refus de l'indifférence face à leur souffrance.
What is humanly good is not so much the honor or the financial aid received by the victims of violence on this occasion. What is humanly good is your refusal to be indifferent to their suffering.
Ce qui est humainement bien, c'est votre chaleureuse et affectueuse attention à l'égard de celles qui ont si souvent l'impression d'être tout simplement oubliées.
What is humanly good is your warm and loving attention to those who so often feel forgotten.
Par ce prix, vous affirmez que ces femmes blessées et marginalisées par la barbarie dont elles ont été victimes font partie de notre commune humanité.
Through this pride, you are affirming that the women who have been harmed and ostracized by the barbaric acts they have endured are part of our common humanity.
Vous affirmez haut et fort que tant qu'il y aura des barbares quelque part, il y aura aussi quelques hommes de bonne volonté pour les dénoncer et les combattre.
You are stating loud and clear that as long as there will be barbaric acts somewhere, there will be some people of good will ready to condemn and fight them.
La survie de notre humanité en dépend.
The survival of our humanity depends on it.
Vous qui combattez pour le droit de l'homme, vous qui dénoncez le mal que le plus fort font au plus faible, vous faites ce qui est humainement bon.
You who fight for human rights and denounce the evil that the strongest do unto the weakest, you do what is humanly good.
Il est vrai que souvent l'humanité perd sa route, elle se perd dans des entreprises bassement matérielles qui la conduisent à des attitudes inhumaines et bestiales de nature à mettre en danger sa propre existence.
It is true that humanity often loses its way it gets lost in materialistic engagements that lead to the inhuman and beastly attitudes likely to endanger its own existence.
Ces entreprises jalonnent notre histoire récente, qu'il s'agisse de l'esclavage, de l'apartheid, du racisme, qui accouchent des génocides, du terrorisme et de guerres économiques.
Those endeavors mark our recent history, whether it be slavery or apartheid, racism which leads to genocide, terrorism or economic armed warfare.
Et quand la voix de conscience de plusieurs s'éteindrait, quand l'obscurité remplirait les yeux de cœur et d'esprit au point de ne plus distinguer les vrais du faux ni les biens du mal, il y aura toujours une poignée d'hommes et de femmes qui, face à ces dérives, injustices, rappelleraient « fais ce qui est humainement bien ».
And when the conscience of many dies, when darkness fills the hearts and minds of people to the point where they are no longer able to distinguish right from wrong or good from evil, there will always be a small handful of men or women who, in the face of these abuses and injustices, will remind others to do what is humanly good.
Vous êtes cette voix-là, dans la conscience de ceux qui dirigent ce monde.
In the face of those who run this world, you are that voice.
Vous êtes cette voix-là qui réveille la conscience des bourreaux qui ont perdu leur humanité.
You are that voice, the voice to awaken the conscience of killers who have lost their humanity.
Vous êtes cette voix en République démocratique du Congo, en Afrique centrale, en Syrie, en Irak, là où tout va mal et où des vies innocentes sont en train d'être détruites.
You are that voice for the Democratic Republic of Congo, for the Central African Republic, for Syria, Iraq. Everywhere wrong is being done and innocent lives are being destroyed.
Vous êtes cette voix en Asie, en Europe, aux États-Unis, quand vos dirigeants savent ce qui est bien et ne le font pas pour des raisons diplomatiques, politiques, économiques ou d'autres sensibilités affectives.
You are that voice in Asia, in the United States, or in Europe, where your leaders fail to do what is right for diplomatic, political, economic, and other reasons.
C'est pour ça que je dédie ce prix d'abord aux victimes de violences sexuelles.
That is why I dedicate this prize first to the victims of sexual violence.
Ensuite, je le dédie à tous ces hommes de bonne volonté qui, au péril de leur vie, rappellent aux bourreaux, rappellent aux dirigeants étatiques de faire ce qui est humainement bon.
And then I dedicate it to all men and women of goodwill who have risked their lives reminding criminals on one hand and state leaders on the other to do what is humanly good.
Je le dédie à tous mes compatriotes qui ont subi des guerres et conflits successifs et dont les conséquences sont graves tant sur le plan physique, social qu'économique.
I dedicate this prize to all my compatriots who have suffered successive wars and conflicts with devastating consequences, psychologically, economically, physically, and socially.
Les guerres et autres conflits durent depuis 16 ans en République démocratique du Congo.
Wars and other conflicts in the Democratic Republic of Congo have now lasted 16 years.
Pendant toutes ces années, à l'hôpital de Panzi, nous avons reçu et traité des cas de violence qui dépassent toute imagination.
During those years at the Panzi Hospital, we have received and treated thousands of sexual violence cases, which go way beyond imagination.
Au début, nous faisions des réparations de l'appareil génital détruit, pensant que la guerre allait passer et qu'elle prendrait fin comme c'est souvent partout ailleurs.
At first, we were mainly repairing the destroyed genital organs of the victims, thinking that the war would be over sometime soon, as it is often the case for most wars.
Mais hélas, pendant les années qui ont suivi, les cas n'avaient fait cesser de se multiplier avec l'apparition de nouvelles catégories de victimes.
Unfortunately, during the years that followed, cases did not subside. We continued to receive more victims and witness each time the emergence of new categories of violence.
À côté des femmes victimes de violences, il y a des hommes dont on avait violé les femmes, on avait violé leurs sœurs, on a violé leurs mères, leurs filles, et qui avaient même été contraints d'assister ou de participer à ces viols, parfois par leurs propres sœurs, filles, mères ou même leur grand-mère.
In addition to the women, there were men whose wives, mothers, sisters, or daughters had been raped, and those who were forced to watch and participate in these brutal acts onto their own families. Even grandmothers were not spared.
Nous pensons également à tous ces hommes, parfois de jeunes enfants innocents, pris par force comme soldats dans les groupes armés, et aujourd'hui sont adultes, mais formés durant toute leur jeunesse à commettre le mal.
We also thinking about many of those men who were forcibly taken into armed groups to become fighters. The majority of them were still innocent young boys who have now grown to become men, but throughout their youth, they were only trained to harm, to commit the most evil acts on other human beings.
Pendant qu'en fait les autres enfants du monde allaient à l'école ou s'amusaient au football, leur jeu d'enfance a été de tuer, de violer, de torturer les femmes, tout en pillant et détruisant leur propre communauté.
While other children in the world went to school or played football, those child soldiers were forced, they were trained to kill, raped, torture women while ravaging their community. Unfortunately, that is what they will remember for the rest of their lives.
Ces gens, humains comme nous, sont spirituellement et moralement détruits, privés d'un amour maternel, privés d'un amour familial. Ils n'ont même pas l'amour de la communauté.
Although those people are human beings like us, they are now spiritually and morally destroyed. They have been deprived of the love of a mother, deprived of the love of a family, and deprived of the love of a community.
Porteuse de la vie, de la famille et de la société, la femme a été créée affective, attentionnée, tendre, douce et indulgente.
Women are the carriers of life, of the family, of the society. They are emotional, caring, tender, gentle, and forgiving by nature.
Elle est toujours prête à partager, à donner elle-même, et c'est l'une des raisons pour lesquelles elle est souvent victime, malheureusement, d'abus.
Women are always willing to share, to give all of themselves, and that is one of the reasons, unfortunately, why they are so often abused.
Grâce à cet amour, elle représente le plus grand pilier de notre société.
Through that care and love, women represent the greatest and strongest pillar of our society.
En la violant, on viole en effet tout simplement l'amour. On détruit l'amour.
By violating women, the perpetrators violate that care and the love that they provide. They break it.
C'est peut-être l'une des grandes raisons pour lesquelles les bourreaux s'attaquent à elles essentiellement de la manière la plus atroce qui soit, afin que le pilier social tombe.
That may be one of the main reasons why the attackers go to women and they attack them in the most atrocious way. They want to make sure that that pillar that is holding up the society breaks apart.
Cette destruction du tissu social ne porte pas seulement sur la destruction physique, mais aussi et beaucoup plus une destruction mentale, la destruction des valeurs morales, la paupérisation et une perte totale de la dignité.
This destruction of the social fabric is not only physical. It is also, and most significantly, a mental destruction, the destruction of moral values, impoverishment, and a total loss of dignity.
Au départ, notre traitement portait sur l'aspect physique seulement, mais assez rapidement, nous avions compris qu'il fallait beaucoup plus une approche holistique, comprenant la prise en charge médicale, psychologique, une assistance légale, puisque les femmes ont besoin non seulement que la justice soit rendue, mais qu'elles aient une réparation et la réinsertion socio-économique pour réussir au mieux une restauration de la dignité humaine aux victimes et rendre les bourreaux redevables de leurs actes.
Initially, our treatment focused only on the physical damages, but we quickly realized the need for a holistic approach that included medical, psychological, legal assistance, and socioeconomic in reintegration of the survivor. because eventually the survivor would also need to be receiving reparation. That approach is important to help the victims materially to successfully restore their human dignity and hold the perpetrators accountable for their actions.
Cette tâche est énorme, mais nous ne devons pas baisser les bras, nous ne devons pas non plus abandonner. Nous devons continuer à croire en cette restauration, car au fond de tout être humain, il y a du bien.
It is an enormous task, but we must not give up. We must not turn our back on it. We must continue to believe in this recovery because deep in the conscience of every human being, there is good.
Si ces biens innés est corrompu, il faut les secouer, il faut les raviver. Et cela sera toujours possible, même dans un pays détruit comme la République démocratique du Congo.
And whenever that inborn goodness becomes corrupted, we have to shake it and revive it. That will always be possible, even in a country as much destroyed as the Democratic Republic of Congo.
La restauration est possible.
Restoration is possible.
Nous avons vu des lueurs d'espoir au Congo.
We have seen glimmers of hope in the Congo.
Tout d'abord par les femmes victimes elles-mêmes. Certaines n'ont pas baissé les bras et ont repris la vie.
We have seen glimmers of hope first from the women victims of rape themselves. Some of them did not give up, and they carried on and getting back to their lives.
Cela vraiment nous encourage, nous, en tant que médecins.
That is encouraging for us, doctors.
Nous avons espoir grâce à ces femmes comme Mwavita, qui, bien qu'elle ait été violée, infectée du VIH durant ses viols, ayant été forcée à boire le sang de ses propres enfants massacrés en sa présence, a su grandir sa fille rescapée qui a 12 ans actuellement et va à l'école.
We have hope because of women like Mwavita, who remained strong despite the fact that she was gang raped for months. She was infected by HIV. She was forced to drink the blood of her own children murdered in front of her. And a few years ago, after treating her physically, we saw her recover.
Elle a su faire fructifier $50 que nous lui avons remis jusqu'à avoir aujourd'hui sa propre parcelle qui lui appartient, sur laquelle elle est en train de bâtir une petite maisonnette. Et en fait, elle a pu être capable de travailler seule, abandonnée, et avoir plus de de $10,000 qu'elle pouvait avoir comme son épargne.
We gave her $50 initially to try to get a new life started, and she has started a business. She eventually bought a land of her own, and now she has even a savings of about $10,000.
Nous avons espoir, car les femmes que nous soignons et que nous réinsérons dans la société à l'image de Mwavita repassent nous voir, portant une grande lueur d'espoir sur leur visage, nous présentant pour certaines leur nouvelle famille, pour d'autres les accomplissements divers dans les études ou les affaires, avec toujours un grand sourire au visage.
We have hope because the women we treat and help reinsert back in a society, just like Mwavita, come back to Panzi to see us with a ray of hope on their faces, some introducing us to their new family, others proudly presenting to us the various achievements in education of business or business.
Nous avons espoir car de groupes d'hommes se forment finalement pour transformer leurs considérations par rapport à la femme qui dans l'État était un être inférieur, pratiquement une servante et outil de reproduction seulement.
We have hope now because groups of men are forming with a goal to change the perception of the role of women in our society. Women used to be considered inferior, almost as servants or slaves, merely a tool of pleasure reproduction.
En fait, avec cette conception, on pouvait détruire une femme à son gré.
With that type of concept, a woman could be destroyed at the will of a man.
Mais maintenant, nous sommes en train de former des groupes d'hommes qui écoutent et veulent assumer leurs responsabilités ensemble dans le respect mutuel avec les femmes.
But now we are forming groups of men who listen, who try to form a new partnership with women where they mutually respect each other and they build together.
Nous avons espoir d'une restauration car les enfants issus du viol, Les enfants soldats qui ont été forcés de violer leurs proches peuvent être pris en charge psychologiquement dans le centre de détraumatisation et se sentir nouveaux, utiles dans leur société.
We have hope for the restoration of the children of rape and for child soldiers who were forced to rape their own family. Slowly, through our center of rehabilitation, they are learning to be part of the society again. They are eager to learn and be useful to their community.
Mais ces efforts doivent être soutenus à long terme. Faisons-en notre tâche à nous tous.
But these efforts must be sustained in a long term. We each need to do our parts in order to make it succeed.
Pour terminer,
In closing,
permettez-moi de vous citer quelques paroles de Jacques, qui est un auteur biblique qui m'a fortement inspiré.
in closing, let me give you some words of Jack,
Qui est un auteur biblique et qui m'a fortement inspiré.
who is a biblical writer who greatly inspired me.
Il dit ceci: celui qui fait ce qui est bien, celui qui sait ce qui est bien et ne le fait pas commet un péché.
He says this: whoever knows what is right and is not doing it is committing a sin.
Selon un théologien, ce n'est pas tous qui pensent comme ça. Le verbe péché signifie rater son but, manquer sa destinée.
Some theologians state that to sin means to miss a goal, to miss your destiny.
Alors, chaque fois que nous le pouvons, faisons le bien.
So every time we can, let's just do good.
Faisons ce qui est humainement bien.
Let's do what is humanly good.
Tendons notre main aux blessés de la vie.
Let us stretch our hand to the wounded of life.
Soyons sensibles à la souffrance de l'autre.
Let's be sensitive to the suffering of
Ne nous
others.
résignons pas.
Let's not back up on that.
C'est en luttant pour un monde juste et fraternel que nous assurerons notre propre survie. Et je vous remercie.
We will assure our own survival by caring for a better world and making sure that the world gets improved. I thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Mukwege, for your sobering message on a very serious global topic, but also your words of hope and also your words of challenge to all of us and how we can make a change and make a difference. We are honored to have had you join us on our campus as we recognize your ethical leadership on a global stage. Your pioneering work, as your message this evening did, challenges us and inspires us. Please join me once again in a heartfelt congratulations to Dr. Mukwege, as well as to our friends and generous supporters from the Inamori Foundation. This concludes our 7th Annual Inamori Ethics Prize. Thank you for joining us for tonight's celebration.